welcome back to Kicking Ass with Tanner Stone. Today we have Ryan Charles on the podcast. I was about to call him Chef Ryan, but he's not a chef. He's what was the title?
Official title is a purchasing agent.
Purchasing agent.
Yes.
And what does a purchasing agent do?
So basically inventory management, budgeting and stuff of that nature. I find all the utensils down to the napkins, to the food, and depending on what items we want to use, we source them out. Where we're at, it's a lot of organic, so we have to find a lot of clean items. Go by the clean 15, dirty dozen. Don't try to go too much in the pesticide heavy items, so our customers can have a fresh product that also doesn't skip out on taste.
Okay, I understand that a lot, and I feel like before we even get started with all the questions, I feel like when I first got in the restaurant industry, before I even actually got in it, I looked at restaurants. I loved food. I loved seeing what went on, but I didn't know how hard it was and all the hard work that goes on until I started working behind the scenes as the person like on the line, as close to where the chefs are, and just seeing like all the crazy stuff that goes on. I feel like your job is very difficult because you have to know what does well, what doesn't do well, to order the perfect amount of stuff so nothing goes to waste, you don't use too much of something, or you don't run out of anything. So what's the hardest part of being a purchasing agent?
Just not beating myself up in too much, you know, because certain times when you get too invested into something, you just give too much of yourself sometimes into something. So I try not to go get overwhelmed. So I created my own little mental system. So I have a routine which is concrete by 4 years now, but it took a lot of mistakes in order to get here. So understand that, okay, you come in at 8, you do this, you do that, you know, you move it around, and then you have the anomalies with people walking up asking you for this, that, and the third. So allowing myself space to fail and allowing myself time to analyze my failures as well. Where did I go wrong? If I left, then I had to receive a text saying, hey, I messed up, or we ran out of this or that. I just need to understand where I went wrong. Where is this product? Where does it fall into my routine? Where did I miss that step? And allow myself the grace to know that, okay, just got to be written down, and then restructure my approach. And then actually hold myself accountable by doing what I had said I'm going to actually do. So it was difficult coming in because I didn't create the system. So I was walking into a system that was already created. So it helped to have some structure, but it was a little bit difficult finding the groove. But, you know, keeping at it, giving your all, you know, sacrificing the 1 minute, 2 minutes extra to get something actually done. You know, sometimes they say at 5 o'clock you can go home, but you might need to stay a little bit extra.
Do you run off your own schedule, or do you have a certain time you're supposed to be in there and leave?
By technicality, I have a schedule, but according to my contract, I really abide by whatever I signed on our contract. So they want me there at a certain amount of time, and as long as I finish exactly what I need to do, I can actually go home. You know, so I still allow myself a little bit extra time to prep ahead. Because if you were finishing time, then you can always go above and beyond just by a little bit to give yourself a good running start the next day.
Yes.
You know? So I always, even though I have a lighter workload on certain days or certain things like that, always try to plan ahead. You know, look out at my weeks, see different departments, checking if they need help, making sure they're running smoothly, delegating information to people, or just following up on people, clearing some areas. So I take some weight off the rest of the team so they don't feel as if I'm just leaving them in the wind, you know, so. Always just peeking around, making sure that certain things are done.
And how long have you been at Farmer's Table for?
I've been there 3.5 years, going on 4 years. I think 4 years officially going to be in June.
And I remember you telling me when you first started as a purchasing agent, that wasn't what you were going for. You wanted to work more as a chef, right?
When I came to that location, actually, the first time I became a purchasing agent was kind of the same thing. Our purchasing agent went out on a serious medical injury, and I just kind of took over. You know, I already was in the routine of helping, and I already understood the process and procedure, and then I just took it over. It was at the time it was a great move for the business since I was not as expensive as a purchaser, but I knew what to do. So I was a great intern purchaser until they found somebody else. So for about like 1.5 years, I was just doing it on my own until they found somebody else who I worked under for another 1.5 years before I took that to another corporation.
So to be a purchaser, you had to work your way up? Like, where did you start at in the restaurant industry, and how did you get to where you are now?
I started in the front of the house. When you want to talk official,
Hmm.
my mom and my mom, her sisters, which are my aunts, all worked in the food industry since I was young. My mom
Okay.
catered parties, funerals, and stuff of the nature. My aunt as well. All three of them did cater parties and funerals. One of them was a baker. The other one actually owned a restaurant in which she sold a couple years ago. And then my mom would, do free parties and stuff like that. She still worked in that industry as well too. My first presence in the restaurant would be Station House. I was a busser. That was my first actual job. Lantana Dixie. It was a really nice place. Still there till this day. I&J Station House. I was a busser, and then I went over to years later. I went over to Fountains Country Club, where I was also doing front of the house work.
Do you feel like it's harder to be an employee and look up to someone and being told what to do, or do you think it's harder to control people and be a leader?
Um, to control people and be a leader. I think both of them are in the same spectrum. I think what becomes a problem is the way you choose to view your relationship with the individual. So,
Hmm.
same for an employee looking up to somebody, if they view their relationship as more of a friendship and they don't give it that respect of authority or don't have that hierarchy thought process with it, then you're going to have an issue of like this person not showing you the 100% of the respect that you deserve for this moment and period of time. It's
Hmm.
feeling like, okay, we're equals. I don't have to listen to you. I don't have to do what you 100% say. We should be friends and we should be cool. But in certain instances, we could be the best of friends, but understand that when it comes to priority and hierarchy and responsibility, like I might have to tell you certain things that you're going to have to do because not only am I responsible for it, but I'm responsible for you because management and hourly is just totally different. And it comes the same thing when you're a manager looking down at an employee. You can care about them and you can have some sentiment for them and some love and appreciation for the individual. But you got to understand that you have a job at the end of the day.
Hmm.
So there's certain level of structure that you have to apply, not only for their safety, but the safety of the company, whether it's for lawsuits or injuries or whatever it actually needs to be. Customer service is a very important one of it. You have to be able to compartmentalize your emotions and the way that you feel to allow you to give correction when necessary.
That's very good advice. Do you feel like it's the same thing with a parent and a child? That you could have that bond as being friends, but you also need to have that kind of structure where they respect you?
100%, 100%. And I think there is a hard disconnect from the parent and the child because the
Hmm.
child is trying to understand life and the parent is trying to understand how to become a parent. So I always often tell people we're not, we don't grow up, we grow old. So at some age, to stop really aging. I'm growing up in my mind to people, and you just are better at handling your responsibilities 100%. So even when I look back now, my parents were just kids trying to understand how to raise a kid. You know
Yes.
what I mean? So it's hard to always find structure and it's hard to find the right words and the right methods and certain things, especially if you weren't given the best lesson in the world by experience from certain people like your parents or the community in which they consider their network that would raise a child. When they say a village would raise a child, it's really built on the network and community and people that
Hmm.
you actually choose to have around at that time. So if that wasn't strong or safe or healthy, then that makes a disconnect for the actual parent because they never really had those moments or understand what to even do. So you have certain situations that aren't really good and you can't really communicate with the kid. Plus, at the same time, society is different now. So when a kid is at school for 8 hours, and that's a different world in a sense, and then you're at home for 8 hours
Hmm.
or 10 hours or 12 hours, and that's a different world in a sense. It's hard for them to dictate what's reality.
What
It
do you
was,
mean by that? Dictate
um,
what's reality?
um, or not reality, but dictate the structure in which you 100% would like for them to abide by. For instance, my parents worked two jobs. My dad worked two jobs, and I
Hmm.
hardly really saw them at a certain point of my upbringing. My mom worked one job, but she was able to pick us up from school or be home by the time we were coming home from school, and we were able to be with her in a certain instance and stuff of that nature. So um, when it came down to who you listened to the most, it was between the teacher and my mom.
Mm-hmm.
And certain times it would seem that my dad would get alienated in a certain sense. So how would his lessons and his principles be taught upon us if he's at work all the time, and then when he comes home he's resting?
Yes.
So it's a difficult lesson to teach somebody that the outside world is a world, but the world that we live inside here is should be our reality. Our family, just like back in the days that they would do things for their family name and for the means of building that family. So the reality of which we live inside this house is should be taught. Like, and certain people have certain upbringings and beliefs that are, out the wild or crazy for certain other people, but it's still the reality of which you would like to live within the confines of your realm.
Mm-hmm.
And it's difficult to give that lesson if you're at work all the time, or you're out just trying to get money to pay the bills, or you can't really spend that quality time and stuff of that nature. So somebody else is raising your kid and you don't know how. And then they come home to a world in which you would expect them to live a certain type of way. And then you're meeting this person in which it feels like crazy. And then you come back because they're raised one way. And then you want them to be a certain type of way, which was a very big disconnect in my family, because my parents were raised in Haiti.
Mm-hmm.
And then I was raised here. So when they would say certain things, and it hurt my feelings, and I feel like, you should know the golden rule. Treat others as you want to be treated. And I feel like I should be able to do the same thing you're doing to you. But I didn't understand that I was being disrespectful to them because they didn't even understand what they were doing to me. That's the way they were taught. That's the way they were raised. They're just doing the best of their ability as kids raising kids. But me, somebody else for 8 hours telling me not to hit, or not to say these certain things, or not to act in a certain type of way. And it's considered abusive. But how do you translate that to somebody who's already raised in a certain type of way?
Yes.
You know what I mean? So it also is a disconnect. And the same thing here too, with the culture might be different, but the environment in which you're in is still the same because you're away from the kid.
So have you had that in the instance of in a restaurant where you got taught something one way at one restaurant and they totally switched how you do something at a different restaurant?
Yeah, I always try to tell people, especially when they have a hard time adjusting to coming into wherever we're working at, especially in the kitchen. I was taught how to make hollandaise sauce like 14 different ways, and it's not the right way to make hollandaise. It's the way that they want me to make hollandaise. So certain times you have to not necessarily 100% forget what you know, but put it on the back burner and understand how somebody wants you to do something. It might be just a little bit different for a specific reason, and you don't have to understand 100% of the time right then and there. You just got to be able to fall in line. Pretty much it.
Yeah. And I feel like you're a big believer in like who you surround yourself around, you kind of become. Like you were explaining at school, if you're surrounded by certain kids or a teacher telling you to do something, you kind of slowly start acting like that because that's kind of your reality.
Yeah.
So when you're in the restaurant, does your coworkers and your bosses, do they really have a big deal on how you are as a person?
When you say that, you mean like, do they affect the way that I am as an individual?
Do they affect your work ethic? Do they affect your personality? Do they affect anything like that?
Definitely. Definitely. Here where I'm at Farmer's Table, it definitely did. From Bruce's work ethic to Michael's work ethic, it was just you. It's blatant.
Yes.
You got one person. Well, before you guys got there, we had 3 locations. So Michael would come in one location while he's going to build another location, then head down to the 3rd location to make sure they were good. All the while, over the whole company, still going to meetings, still making phone calls. If there was new businesses, they would go to him. So he was still doing that. Offsite catering events, he was still doing that. Networking and some of that sort, controlling everything meticulously.
No, I totally agree with you. Have you had a mentor at Farmer's Table, or as you were growing up, have you had a mentor that kind of drove you into the restaurant industry, or were you always wanting to do what you're doing now? Or give me a little bit of your backstory a little bit.
I always was around food. Since my mom, my aunts, all did catering. My dad is a chef. He worked at Quail Ridge for a long period of time as a country club and Boynton. Um, so I've always been around food, and I've always been really good with food.
Hmm.
And but there was always other things that always took my interest too. Cars was one big, really big around like 2010, 2009, 2010, anywhere from 2009 to 2012. I was really big into cars. Hondas for certain, just like different engines, F series gears. I built my own. It got taken away because we were racing, but other than that, it was really fun. Then I got into music because my dad plays piano since we were young. Always played the piano, practice, and then I wanted to play the guitar at one point in my life, and then I didn't learn it. So he
Hmm.
took over and he just learned the guitar. So he was playing the guitar and the piano for a long period of time. So my brother got into music. I got into music. So we started producing. Writing was my really big thing because I used to write poetry a lot. I don't know why. I think I liked the different ways you could say something intricate with words. So I always wrote very intricate things,
That's sick.
stuff like that. So it came to a point where I started recording, started
Okay.
writing and trying to feed lines to other people. Um, I got in with a couple of different producers from the city, and then we started traveling and started to just get Airbnbs, build people from the neighborhood, pull every one of our connections because we weren't like we were a friend group, but we were all individual businesses.
Okay.
So we all had our own network. So we would like, hey, let's go to Kissimmee, get a 10-bedroom house, and then you pull your network. If you have people from Orlando, if you have people from Tampa, this time, third, and we just come and work. And we would just record it. We had videographers, photographers, there was engineers, producers, beat makers, different type of things. And that was kind of the real ball roll into the music industry. So
Hmm.
from there, we started doing a lot of other things. As a collective, individually traveling, doing music. I got in with some people from Houston who got signed by Taylor Gang, started doing music with them. It was really good, really fun. Um, Went out to New York with a couple of friends. We're touring out there for a period of time. And then came back home and then really had to, face the music. Certain times you fall so deep in your goals, but forget to set stability for yourself in some which way, shape, or form, whether it's residual income or just your own actual income in some which way, shape, or form. So had to come back home and, just get restructured
Hmm.
and then jump back into the restaurant industry a little bit until I came here.
What are the positives and negatives of a buffet?
Positive and negative of a buffet. Um, Positive, it depends on what position you're in. Positive and negative of a buffet. High profit for a little bit of expense depending on what the menu is. But at the same time too, if they eat more than you expect, it just gets a little bit hectic.
Hmm.
That's it. Because you probably
Because you're losing money.
not losing, but maybe you got a certain amount of food ready.
Okay.
And you thought that, or you expected to only use this amount of food, and then that's gone. And it's, say, an hour buffet, and that's gone 15 to 20 minutes. You still got 40 minutes to feed them.
Hmm.
And you thought you were going to be good with what you did for an hour worth.
So it's either you run out or you don't have enough.
Yeah, certain time. Yeah, either you run out, you don't have enough, or it's not ready in time. As people complain, the hosts can be very difficult, very
Hmm.
demanding. But then again, the customer's always right.
Of
But
course.
it could be very demanding, very exhausting. Very particular. Um, that's pretty much it.
What are the positives?
Great environment. If you give great service, it's a great moment in memory.
Okay.
It's always, I don't know about everybody else, but it's always great to be included in somebody's moment, happy or sad, however it may come out. It's always great to be included in somebody's moment, and the energy and service you put out, depending on your personality, is always heartwarming to them. And people really do gravitate to that, whether they come back specifically for you or because the energy was really good here. And you get to see a lot of things like kids smiling and the people's happiness and family moments like caring and the hugging and the sharing and the stuff of that nature. And it's very refreshing to see.
Yes.
It's always refreshing to see people unconsciously happy.
That's why I love being in the restaurant industry so much, because I want people, when they come into my restaurant, like hopefully I own one day, they come in, they escape reality, they feel like they're on vacation. It's not really about the food, but it's more about the atmosphere and how they feel while they're eating, just the energy. Because I think we talked about this, how much energy matters when you have a meal. It matters about your digestion, it matters about how you feel while you're eating the food, and it really changes your whole experience.
100%. The it all really depends on the person's outlook when it comes to service. You know, like I'm here to cater to a memory, a thought, and a space for you. And if I'm accepting that, then I can always put that forth. There's certain people who don't really like have that mentality, and they come in and it's just like, IHOP, what do you want? I want my dinner.
Yes.
I want to go home. You know, and then you make the person feel uncomfortable. Then the business loses that little bit of energy, and then that person might not come back or might not.
I feel like you expect that when you go to IHOP. You don't expect a lot of effort.
Yeah, but when you come to a nice place, faster casual or fine dining, you expect to have somebody cater to you as an individual.
Of course.
Not like, I'm really after the tips. No, just cater to you as an individual because you walked in the doors, and it's their job to actually cater to you, you know, make you feel welcome, seen, and acknowledged is one very big thing. So I always tell people, especially when we're in the restaurant, always acknowledge the 6 foot rule. Anybody who walks into your 6 foot radius, your bubble, acknowledge their presence. You know, hey, how are you doing? I don't care if you were 2 feet down from me and somebody else already asked you, I'm gonna ask you again. Hey, everything okay? How are you doing today? Okay.
I've never heard that rule. It's a good rule.
Yeah, wonderful. Just small talk. Wonderful
Yes.
weather we're having. Just make you see seen and accepted to some which way, shape, or form. I had a great conversation with a gentleman at To Go about language, not knowing he was a language professor.
I remember him. Yes, I was there. Yes, the older guy.
Just subconsciously telling him all of the love languages that I like, and for him to be able to speak them one after the other was very heartwarming, because it takes a lot for somebody to be like, hey, I'm going to learn this language so I'm able to communicate with this group of people, you know, or understand this group of people, to learn their culture, to learn their food, to learn their, you know, their dialects, the emotions, the tones, the this, that, and, you know, it's very heartwarming to see. Like you've probably seen it on the internet when somebody of a different race is speaking somebody else's language, and they're like, so like, oh my God. And they're very moved by it, because it takes a lot. And that's very appreciative, because you didn't have to, because there's a lot of people who's telling them that they don't need to. You know what I mean? So it's very loving. It's very welcoming. And somebody like that is probably an amazing person, you know, very interesting, very heartwarming, you know, and has like a very big network of loving people just as that, to be able to call his village on his way through life.
How can you tell if someone's going to make it or kind of crumble in the restaurant industry?
Your work ethic, really. Your work your work ethic speaks volumes. So if you don't have that forward thinking work ethic, then I already know, like, it's only a matter of time. You're gonna burn yourself out. So that's the major thing, you know, how you choose to work, how do you choose to help, how do you choose to manage, how do you take problems and stress, and all that other stuff, you know. So that's the really big indicator.
So how you respond to problems.
Yes, 100%, because we're managers. So it's in the name, you know, you're there to manage. And if you're more complaint than manage, if you're more bringing it to the attention of the higher ups and without any follow-up of option of solution, then you're probably slowly going to fizzle out, because we didn't need another employee to bring to our attention what we need to fix. We hired you to manage. So you need to either fix it or come to me with certain options for me to consider, and we can come to an agreement together that you can still turn around and go and handle. You know, so just really your mentality.
Now, switching over to Farmer's Table as a restaurant, Farmer's Table is seed oil free. You grow a lot of your vegetables outside, and it's a very healthy restaurant. And I feel like the positives of that is people look at the menu and they feel good when they're eating. And the negatives is, as I've been doing more research and now that I'm inside and behind the scenes, I feel like shelf life is a lot different on how long items last when they don't have the additives like canola oil, sunflower oil, and those seed oils inside, which make it last longer. So when you're ordering the food and ordering the products, how hard is it to kind of know when things are going to go bad, if your things are going to go to waste when you're using whole ingredients?
Ooh, that's difficult. Trial and error is really one big thing, you know. Um, Understanding season, understanding your workload. It benefits me to have different things like the pantry and banquet open so that even though I need certain products for the restaurant and might not be able to move it, it moves to other places so they
Okay.
can be able to use it. So I'm still able to stock certain items and keep it at a certain level, and it doesn't hurt. But when it comes to like organic products, like you said, it doesn't last long.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like really gauge it. So it's like this week you sold X amount of lasagna. So you're gonna make X amount of lasagna. It was slow, so you're gonna take it down a notch. And then we watch it periodically, and we watch it very closely, especially if we're cutting down, so that if we catch it in time, we can have somebody go make it fresh. Because that's how he wants the majority of his stuff fresh.
Yes.
He doesn't really want it to last more than 3 days. So a day, 2 days max, and then he wants to remake it fresh because it's clean product. He wants that flavor in there, you know? If it's already been cooked down and you're reheating it on day 3, he's feeling like all the nutrients is out of it and he doesn't want to serve that. It's not good to him. So just watching sales, acknowledging the room rate at the hotel to see how many people's there because they might walk over and grab something to eat and stuff of that nature. So being ready for them, just prepping accordingly, and then gauging that year after year. So they've been open for roughly around 12, 13 years, if I'm not mistaken. Um, so we already have some sort of gauge on certain items since they've been here for so long, and everything else we kind of just follow suit. So, okay, this is not selling. We just threw out 4 quarts. Let's just only make 2 quarts. Okay, 2 quarts not good. Let's just 2 quarts too little. Let's just make 2 quart. Let's make 3 quarts this time. Put 1 quart in the freezer, and then you have 2 quarts just in case. And then we just we change the levels accordingly.
And have you ever had your supplier not show up on time and it's messed up a lot of like the whole week?
A lot. I had a lot of suppliers push you back. You know, they want to get your business, so they'll promise you something, and then as they get other businesses, they'll probably promise them the same thing. So now you're pushed back from a 6 o'clock in the morning delivery to like 11 o'clock. Which, if we're opening at 11, I need like at least 2 to 3 hours to prep certain items fresh for the day of. So I need it no later than 9.
Yes.
So certain people would do that, wouldn't show up. You have some companies which are very lax. Maybe the rep doesn't really call you, doesn't really give you a heads up when something's out of stock or something, and you got to work around that. So there are always here and there certain problems when it comes to like ordering in the companies. Like a rep order the wrong product for you or something, and you just got to manage. You just got to just really find a way around it. But that's the benefit of being either 1 or 2 days ahead when it comes to structuring things out. So if I make a mistake on a Thursday, or if they make a delivery mistake on a Thursday, I can still have time to either go grab it myself from a warehouse or have them ship it in the next day and still be in the right time bracket.
But it definitely happens a lot, right?
It definitely happens a lot. Definitely happens a lot.
Another topic, I feel like when I was doing takeout, as I was answering the phone, as I was putting in the menu items, I slowly realized, I said, why can't AI do this? Why can't AI just answer the phone, put in the different items, and if they don't want something, then those put in their number and send it to the kitchen? Have you ever thought about your job in ordering and managing all the supply and products? Have you ever thought that AI could take that over?
Yeah. I think I read something about this about a couple of years ago, saying that purchasing would be one of the jobs that would be lost to AI, which it may over the years, but I think it's going to be like far, far down the line because there's going to be so many things that you're going to have to pay attention to, and at the same time, there's going to be a lot of information that is going to need to be programmed onto this AI system, and somebody's going to have to manage that. So it's like the same thing now. There's something that I use called Restaurant 365, and I put recipes in there, and I put plates of food in there, and it breaks it down to exactly how much you're spending and you see your sales and you know exactly what your profit is and something of the sort. But it's not just like the system coming in and then running through your invoices and understanding exactly what's what. No, somebody had to one program that system. Now we have to manage it. So when the invoices come in, it does make information for that one product, but we have to curate it. Maybe it's wrong. Maybe we need to separate it by department and the system doesn't know. So it's still going to take some time before we get to that point. When it comes to that purchasing part of it, where it's 100% automated, that will take some time. But when it comes to the front of the house, I don't think we'll ever get automated.
Never.
Not
Because
with,
people like to have the human to human connection.
for the service. They want to feel catered to. They want to feel special. That's the main reason a lot of people come and or go out to eat, is the high end experience. And the main point of it is the service. Whether it's from the server or from the kitchen or whatever, maybe you came out and made their dessert right then and there and put the fire out for them and did everything like that. But it's really about the experience, the atmosphere, the treatment, and the experience that they felt in the moment, you know?
So going on to the experience, when you go into a restaurant, like when you just go out to eat with your family or with your parents, what are the top, let's say, 5 things that you look for, presentation wise, service wise? How do you know it's a good restaurant?
Um, ooh, I don't know. It really all depends, man. I don't really know. I would look online majority of the time to see exactly what the menu is and what the reviews are for certain things. Um, that'd be the major thing. And then when it comes to eating as a family, it's like very difficult to pick exactly where you're gonna go because you don't know how everybody likes to eat and stuff like that. So it's really about like as long as there's a butcher block, which is like meats with your New Yorks, your ribeyes, and stuff of that nature. A little bit of seafood here and there, and high shelf alcohol for the ladies because they like it.
Yes.
Then we're good. But if they have, it's really the reviews, honestly, especially because I frequent certain places that I've ate before here.
So what would make you leave a good review?
What would make me leave a good review is 100% service. Service. Yeah, it really be service. Like I meant to leave a good review for Station House. I went there for Valentine's Day. The day after Valentine's Day, I went there, and the server was amazing. Really, really good. Very attentive. Very nice. Great energy. Great personality. Carried great conversation, and it wasn't just like meaningless small talk. It was genuine conversation. Gave us enough time to choose what we wanted to do, and that attitude and stigma wasn't with her because there is this unspoken attitude and stigma like, hey, I might not get any money, so I'm just going to ask them what they want and walk away. I'm not going to really cater to them or tell them the specials or this, that, and a third. I'll just drop a menu and then come back in like 15 minutes and see what they want. You know what I mean? But it wasn't that, they were catering to us because we were guests and they treated us as guests and the hospitality was amazing. So it's really about that. If you came in to work today with the attitude to make somebody happy, that's gonna really push me to.
That's all you can really ask for.
All I can really ask for, you know what I mean? Because once that one domino falls, everything else could be wrong too. Because if you give me bad energy, bad service, the food could have just been just a smidge off. You know what I mean? Then everything's bad. I got bad
It's
service.
the energy. That's what it really is.
Terrible. It was too hot in here. Now I'm finding any reason to continue this rant. You know what I mean? So if you start off with that good energy and you're respectful and you care and you came in with the intention to create a great experience, that's all you can really ask for.
Of course. No, I agree with you. And then one last thing to finish it up, I just wanted to say, let's say you're giving advice to someone my age in their 20s. I want to get in the restaurant industry. Maybe I want to be a chef. Maybe I want to be in the front of the house. Or you gave me advice to even be a bartender. What would your biggest piece of advice be to someone my age who wants to get in the restaurant business?
Understanding your personality 100% is going to tell you exactly where you're going to fit in. You have a great personality. You can carry a great conversation. Keep eye contact. You're actually listening. You're not just brushing people off. That is great signs that you can provide great service.
Mm-hmm.
You can keep a conversation with your table. You can include them in your personal conversation. You can entertain them with a story. You can probably say some jokes, this, that, and the third. And it's very smooth and it's not forced. So
Yes.
that right there, you could be a bartender and make your own occult following and take that with you wherever you really want to go because you're catering to that individual and it's on a personal sense.
Mm-hmm.
Like we've had employees who only come there for certain bartenders and certain servers. And in that instance, if you could do that for the bar, you could do that as a server as well too. Same thing
Mm-hmm.
as a host. If it's really about your personality and where you fit in. But now, if you don't have a very extroverted personality and you don't want to speak as much, depending on your physical stature, you could be a food runner, you could be a busser, you can clean those type of things. Or if you're really good with problems or high volume or managing and this, that, and the third, and you're a team player, very big team player, you could be a manager.
Mm-hmm.
Because one thing for a manager is, well, to me at least, every position under you is what you're supposed to do. So
I know
if they
that.
don't get
Yes.
paid as much as you, then you do as much as them.
Mm-hmm.
So that if I lose a bartender because they're sick, I'm the bartender. If I lose a busser, I need to jump in for a busser. If the bussers are busy, I need to jump in for the busser. If I need an extra food runner. If I standing and I notice somebody fidgeting a little bit, let me go check on this table. Hey, how are you doing? How are you enjoying anything? If they give me any bad remarks, let's get them a free dessert or let's get them a free drink. Let's just make sure that they had a great experience,
Mm-hmm.
minimizing anything that could be considered a discomfort so that you don't not necessarily leave a bad review, but you don't leave with the bad energy.
Yes.
You can leave in a good spirit. Well, I didn't like the food, but at least she took the time to speak to us, gave us a drink or it gave us a free dessert just to make sure that I enjoyed myself. I appreciate that sentiment. I'm coming back just because of her.
Mm-hmm.
It may not have been the food. It could have been just so you can see me personally. You know
Of
what I mean?
course.
So, as a manager, it's, you know, as long as you can see the whole field, understand where you need to fit in or where needs a little bit of extra help, moving people around, being able to not interject too much in where you feel bound by friendship that you cannot instruct anybody to do anything. And that would 100% be where you would fit in. You know,
Mm-hmm.
as for chefs, that's a personal thing. You know, if you could
I
deal
feel
with
like
the heat,
chefs are higher on the scale than a manager. I mean, when I came in the industry, first I looked on the outside. I thought managers kind of ran the show, but now that I'm working in a restaurant, the chefs kind of run the show.
100%. I think if you would think of it like this, the chef makes the car, the server sells them.
Mm-hmm.
The front of the house sells the cars that the chefs make. So that's really the things, how it is. And if you're not in cohesion with the kitchen, then that's where a restaurant begins to fail. Yes, it sucks that you probably feel a little bit like front of the house probably feels that they're a little bit lower than the chefs in a certain sense. But if it's our creative artwork that we want you to verbalize and to sell, you have to understand this to a certain degree. It can't be your way because we're not selling your product.
Mm-hmm.
You're selling ours. So you have to fit within the confines of our creations.
That was a great saying right there. The chefs kind of make the car and then the managers sell it.
Yeah.
That was very good. Honestly, I didn't think of it like that way. But as I'm working at Farmer Scale, I'm realizing these chefs work like 14 hours. Some even work more than that.
Mm-hmm.
It's just crazy. I mean, I don't know how people do that.
It's tough working in a restaurant field because you give every holiday somebody needs to eat.
Mm-hmm.
So every day somebody needs to eat. So it's like you're working all the time. And when you have certain responsibilities, it's going to be longer hours, 100% longer hours. And it is a deterrent to some people. It's not a deterrent to others. And as soon as you get your feet stuck in it, a lot of people are just like, well, I'm in it. I'm just going to enjoy it. You know what I mean? But if somebody wanted to get into the cooking field, not the restaurant field, the cooking field, it's easier now to do than anything because you can practice, fail in the public eye, and you'll still build an occult following. So when you get it right, you have an occult following of people who want to experience where you've grown to as far as your level, and they'll support. Okay, well, look at what they're doing now. Maybe I'll go buy a plate.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe I'll go to their pop up or I'll go to their stuff because restaurant industry it gets a little hectic, you know. At least if you're running your own show and you're working within the craft you chose to work in, you can be able to rein it in when you need to.
Yes.
You know, never want to sit down too long, but you could still take a deep breath and take a day off.
That's good advice. Thank you. And from this podcast, I'd say I learned how much goes on behind the scenes managing the back end like you do. I mean, you have to, like you said, I didn't even think about it because there's a hotel part of Farmer's Table for the people who don't know. I didn't think about that you have to know how many hotel guests are staying in there because they'll come into the restaurant. You have to see how food does the week before and the week before that just to know what you're ordering. So thank you so much for coming on the podcast. I learned so much on how much goes on behind the scenes. And thank you, Ryan. Appreciate it.